The other day, Enam and I did the budget worksheet. What really hit me was how much we spent eating out.
Everybody says I have the perfect husband, which is 99% true.
All facts.
The 1% that makes him not perfect, he does not cook.
What did I make?
Sandwiches.
And what? That pasta, right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I wouldn't have ever made my kids sandwiches with pasta.
Sometimes
like
you gotta
double
switch,
carb.
but if you switch it up, it's good for their body though. So technically, those who are listening, I do cook.
Going from broke empowers young people drowning in debt.
I can't do this.
To become the CEOs of their own lives. I'm Dan Rosensweig, CEO of Chegg. My co-host, Tonya Rapley, and I are here to help people find their way out of suffocating debt.
This is the year.
What you're about to see are real-time, unfiltered conversations airing the same week in which we shot them. This is Going From Broke in real time.
Hey.
Hi. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing good. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm great. I am so excited to meet the two of you. I've heard such great things, and I want to talk about paying for college today with you. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
I know that, but correct me, I think you call him Mayan, your oldest son, right? He's 14 now?
Well, Mayan has been talking about going to college and getting married since he was like 6. He's known since he was really young that he wanted to go to college and that he wanted to get married. That's all he talks about. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't something that he just talks about because he's a straight A student. He is serious about his education.
Now, before we get into strategies for him, how long have you been paying on your student loans?
Since 2012.
Yeah, when did you 3 months after you graduate?
Yeah.
And they start calling you.
So basically a decade, we'll just roughly say a decade. And
Yeah.
they're not paid off yet, right? But typically when we borrow student loans, they say it's for 10 years. But is that the case?
No, you're just really paying the interest.
Basically. And so actually that's what's the most surprising or most scary for me is the average amount of time it takes to pay off student loans right now is 21 years. So that means at 18 years old. Yeah. At 18 years old then, your student is deciding the next 2 decades of their life, longer than they've even been alive.
Man, when you put it like that, because if I'd have known that, I probably would have took the community college or went in the military first, then went to school later. I didn't know it would be 21 years after graduating that I'd still be looking at paying off debt. And
yeah, you're absolutely right.
absolutely.
It's eye-opening. I have to admit, I watched the previous episode and you said something really interesting, Carlin. You said that even if it means that we have to live in a box, I want our kids to be free from debt in the future. And, I'm happy to say, I don't think you're going to need to live in a box to pull it off. But the good news is that a huge part of paying for college is really having that mentality around we are going to do this differently. You have to be a little rebellious when it comes to paying for college. We are talking about implementing unique strategies that can build on each other to work towards a debt-free degree. So if you think of a staircase, you take one step at a time, and you slowly work your way to the top of the staircase. One of the strategies, and this sounds like Mayan, could be securing college credits ahead of time. Do you think that's something he'd be interested in? Maybe taking either AP, advanced placement classes, or IB classes, or maybe even dual enrollment through the school while he's in high school?
Yeah, and he does take AP classes now, especially in math. He's like 2 steps above what he's supposed to be, and then he actually tutors other kids that are even older than him in math.
That's amazing. That is so incredible at 14 years old. So this strategy is already one then. We can say that you're already on step 1 in the staircase, because believe it or not, if he can keep doing that, he can walk into college as a sophomore or a junior in college. What kind of colleges has he thought about where he wants to go? Is he set on a school, or is he open to options?
I don't think he's set on any one particular school. I think he's more so open to whatever, calls for him or whatever he feel like he's interested in by his junior, senior year.
If he can cast his net wide and be open to more universities as options, that could potentially lead to way more money. Instead of saying, where do we want to go? And then saying, okay, now how do we pay for it? Instead, we want to say, well, how about we look for schools that we can afford? And then let's see which ones we love. What I would really love for mine to do is to secure cash from outside sources, which are scholarships. And this is my bread and butter. So I applied and applied and applied. And I was only winning, $2,000 here, $1,200 there, $600 there. But believe it or not, that added up to where I got over $125,000 over the 4 years.
Whoa.
So,
Awesome.
right? It was a lot of small scholarships adding up to that free ride. And what's beautiful about that is those smaller dollar scholarships, first off, a lot of students skip them. When they see, oh, it's only $800, that's not worth my time. Well, great for that. That's great for us, right? That means that when we do apply to them, that's less competition. So we have a strategy that we call Scholarship Sundays, where families work together they say, okay, let's sit down together. And actually, they'll even do this through FaceTime or a Zoom call if their student's already at college, and they say, hey, let's sit down together. We'll work on the bills or we'll work on our budget while you knock out some scholarship applications.
I actually feel more confident to kind of start creeping in those kind of questions to my end. Like when he's around the house, like, hey, son, what are you interested in? Oh, this school is really good for this. And then it gives me confidence to start saying, okay, if this is something you really want to do, let's start down this road right here. Okay, let's really focus in on, trying to obtain this scholarship or obtain this credit. And then it's like, man, mine was just little. Now we thinking about college, so it's just like, we'll have the time going. So just hearing this and planning this, it makes you kind of miss your little boy even more.
So one thing I want to share, and this is something I stress to many families, is that you can always, though reluctantly, but you can technically always borrow for college. You too cannot borrow for retirement. And that's something to keep in mind when it comes to getting yourselves in a strong financial situation, prioritizing your financial situation over paying for college. Now, if you get to the point where you have your emergency fund, you have debt gone, you're comfortable, you can now start putting money away, fantastic. Any penny can help your student.
Carlin and I have had such a rough start that we don't want our kids to have that start. And I rather sacrifice ourselves for our kids to have a good future. Like, we didn't have parents that paid for our college. So I feel like if I could get our 3 kids taken care of, then it doesn't matter how much we suffer. And so I think it's hard for me to grasp the fact that, do everything for us and then we can borrow for college later, because I don't want them to borrow. Like, we are suffocating.
Well, I think the way that a lot of our families look at their contribution to paying for college is by walking their student through the strategies and by going through the steps and working through this process with them in order to ensure that college is affordable and that they don't have to borrow, or that they can borrow minimally.
Honestly, Jocelyn, even if he does not apply for these scholarships, I'll be spending all day, several days doing it myself.
I never recommend the parents doing the applications, but if you want to help do the searching, I love that theory, okay?
Yeah.